What's up, Kinixu Ultras, Tartarus participants? Um, we are 1 week out, and I am super stoked. I cannot wait to get up there. One, it doesn't look like there's extreme heat going to happen. Our weather is looking at around mid to low 80s as the high and mid 50s as our low. So pretty dramatic temp spread overall, but this is prime running. This is why I think Tartarus could really put up a lot of miles, is that Spokane is such a great location for it. Granted, the last few years have been a little crazy. 2 years ago, we had 100 plus temperatures. Last year, we had a crazy fire. Happened a couple days before the event. We were able to put it off with park officials closely monitoring, but we ended the race at 12 hours or 12 yards. So, um, just some things that I want you all to consider is this year we won't be doing that. If there is a fire that breaks out this week, we're going to cancel. I don't think that that's going to happen, but you never know. The plus side of this is that this is a very good window of weather. The high being mid 80s and lows being mid 50s. That's perfect running weather and rucking weather. Um, so what I hope to do today is just give you some details around the race. I know you all are coming in here pretty soon. Some of you all have camping questions and this and that and all kinds of stuff. So I'm just going to dive into the logistics of the race and we can go from there. Let me pull up this little deck I've got with some of my notes. All right, officially, welcome to Tartarus. One of my favorite races. One, logistically, it's very easy to put on. You all make the start and finish of this race. There is nothing that the organization provides in terms of start finish stuff. One, it's all motivators. Music, all that stuff is all motivators. And this is all about you being able to bring what you need to the start finish area and you bringing the crew and the support that you think you need in order for you to go as far as you possibly can. Um, if you haven't gone through and looked at other different backyard ultras, they all are relatively operating under the same rules. You might see differences in terms of terrain and things like that. This race, Tartarus, we've positioned this race for several years to be a silver ticket race. This year we are not a silver ticket race. Um, and that's just because Laz likes to rotate the events around. But our race format is as close as you can get to bigs. Our elevation and our gain and loss is pretty close to the same. We're within probably about 60 to 70 feet or so, give or take all the digital stuff. Distance wise, we are right on for the run. For the ruck, we're the only ones right now doing the ruck. And I think that we've dialed in the distance to be able to go far. Last year, we had just about every rucker go to the 12-hour mark before we canceled. Um, when we did Saguaro Showdown, which is down in Phoenix, Arizona, where I live, the ruck distance enabled ruckers to go 24 plus hours. So it was an awesome event. And I think the distance that we have now is very dialed. I think the course that you have out there is very dialed. Both courses are championship courses. Um, the course, the run is a measured run. I have yet to get out and measure the ruck. Once things kind of get a little bit more formal, maybe I'll measure it out. But you can rest assured that the ruck is going to be probably around 2.25 miles, plus or minus. I think that that's the magic sweet spot for that distance. Okay, schedule of events. On Friday, you can come in and you can set up both your camp site as well as the start finish spot, your little reserve spot along the start finish. The reason why I say both is some runners bring in a 10 by 10 tent and they will set up right at the start finish, and they camp out of that as well. That is totally fine. Um, if you're bringing an RV or you're bringing, um, bigger tents or your family, we have an entire airstrip. And when I say airstrip, it's an old World War I, World War II airstrip that has a very long dirt road. You can camp anywhere along that strip if you want. There is a lot of space to camp. You don't necessarily need to crowd up and around the start finish. The only thing that we set up in the start finish, and I'll show you kind of some diagrams of this, is runner tents. Think of this as like a 10 by 10 area that you have to set up everything that you need. Crew, coolers, all of that stuff. These can get pretty elaborate. Brady Winkle, when he came in, um, him and his partner, they have the setup. They've got it very dialed. She crews for him. Angela crews from him for just about every race, and it's amazing. In the morning, the following morning, she's usually cracking out some bacon and cooking breakfast. Like it can get that elaborate, or it can get as small as someone's just got their little rocking chair out there and their own cooler and they're crewing themselves. So you're going to see the gamut. That's why I say the start finish is all yours. You get to set up however you want around that within the parameters of what I've got. We don't play music, we don't play anything like that. You come in, you do your thing. That's what this is about. This race, the mission of this race is to get someone as far as we possibly can in distance. It takes two runners, takes two ruckers to be able to do that. And every single one of you, regardless of what your goal is, every single one of you have the ability to just support that runner while you're out there. You're kind of crewing and pacing for many, many, many miles. You just never know who's it going to be. And we won't really see that play out until 24 plus hours. Um, so on Friday, I kind of went on a rampage there. On Friday, the 16th of August, you can come in, you can set up your camp around 3 p.m. I'll probably be out there around noon. The gate will be unlocked, so you can come in, drop your stuff if you want, and go from there. If you're getting into town a little early, what I would ask that you do is you message me. I'll send a contact number to you in this email with the link to this video. You can message me, let me know what's up, and I can get you instructions on how to get into that area. It's usually locked up until noon, but I can get you instructions on how to get into that area and get set up a little earlier. You can preview the course at that time as well. What may not be up are the actual signs that I use along the road. This is a very heavily used area if you're out of town. There's lots of trails, there's lots of social connector trails, and I don't want the trail itself to get messed up. So typically I don't put the signs out until later, but you can follow the route with the flagging tape. I just usually don't put signs out that are on the road. You'll see signs internally, like when you're out on the trail. But if it's a sign that goes on the road, I usually save that until the last thing Friday evening. I go out there in the dark and plant those and make sure that they're good and ready to go for the next morning. If you're bringing RVs, dry camping only, prepare for that. There is water that's out there. There is an electrical panel box that's reserved primarily for the race. But if you're looking to charge stuff, if you've got a battery bank as a racer or something like that, we can utilize that to be able to charge those things. I would just ask that you come prepared with a bank of some sort so you can do initially like one or two charges, because we don't want to flood that panel area with just a bunch of banks and phones and all of that kind of stuff. Just be prepared, be ready. On Saturday, race day, we have a very relaxed start. It starts at 8 o'clock. You can come pick up your bib. If you're getting in late Friday night, don't worry about race registration being this, crazy formal process. You're going to see a blue tent on the opposite side of the start line, and I'm going to be hanging out there. Come by, we'll just check your name in. I do roll call when we have the crew racer brief in the racer corral, so I know who's who. You don't necessarily need your bib. I usually just provide bibs primarily for people who just want to have it. I go by names. it's small enough that we can do that, and we just go out there, we race, we build relationships, we build community. That's what it's about. 7:30 is the racer crew brief. What I primarily do in there is just talk through the rules of the start and finish. That's really the most important piece of that. You runners are going to get a chance to get out there and know the course really well, but the racer corral is the most important thing that you need to be thinking about when you come in and come out. So how you set that up, the logistics behind that is really important. At 8 o'clock, the race starts. Our first yard, we don't call them laps, they're called yards. Our first yard will start at 8 a.m. And then it repeats until we have one rucker and one runner. For the backyard 24 folks, you all are adhering to the backyard ultra rules, but your goal is just getting 100 miles in 24 hours. If you get 100 miles in yard 24, that means that you've done a sub 2400 miler. So there is no last person standing in that event. Your goal is to just get to 24 hours. That's your goal. All right. Some things to note here. We have park fees. We also have overnight fees that are in play. We have paid for your camping. So the only thing that you need to pay for, that should be vehicle, not vehicle. But we have paid for your overnight camping, so you don't need to pay for that. You just need to pay for your vehicles. So you can do that with a couple different ways. You can do that with your Discovery Pass. You can also do that if you think that you're just in it for 60 miles or you're in it for 24 miles or whatever that it might be, and you just want a day pass. There are pass envelopes that you can purchase that are at the entryway. I'll also have a packet of those passes, those envelope passes at the start finish in the race directors area. I'll have those there as well, so you can pick those up. The most important thing, and I cannot emphasize this enough, because the park rangers will come through at some point on Saturday. The most important thing is for you to make sure that you have this displayed on your vehicle, on the dash or hanging. They will come through and they will ticket any vehicle that doesn't have that. And trust me, I've had my own vehicle ticketed in that regard. So just keep that in mind when you show up. Try to grab one of the passes or order up a Discovery Pass before you get on play. You can also go online and you can do the same thing, and you can get that and print that off. Typically, if I forget, I go online, I do the passes that I need. It kicks you out a number code or number letter code. I will put that on a big dry erase and I'll stick that on my dashboard. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so where the race is located, you can type in Camp 7 Mile and it'll get you in the area. If you type into Google, we were off the 7 Mile road and we are on the west side of the Spokane River. Typically what happens is the directions will bring you to the 7 Mile trailhead, and you won't be able to get in. You can access the airstrip, which is this big long field right here. You can access that from 7 Mile trailhead, but it won't be open. What you're going to need to do is follow the runner signs, the runner on road signs, all the way down this road, and you'll see a turnoff. It'll be on the right-hand side. There's no signage for it or anything like that. From there, you'll come in. That gate will be open and you can come in and access the airfield from there. And that road will bring you directly to the start finish. So it's not that difficult for you to look down that road as you're driving to see where you're at. It's the only road past the 7 Mile trailhead. Look down that road and actually see the start finish and a bunch of cars, probably some RVs, things like that. If you go too far, what you're going to do is you're going to hit the Wilbur trailhead, and it's just a big turnaround. There's a gate, so dead ends right there. So if you've gone too far and you hit that, turn around, come back like 75, 80 yards, and you'll see the turn now on your left-hand side, Spokane River on your right, and you'll come in. A good way to Google this is if you do Camp 7 Mile Trailhead in Google and you see these other hyperlinks, you're looking for the water fountain hyperlink. If you click on that link, that will bring you very specifically to where the start finish area is at. When you get there, the water fountain is actually located in this little light blue or light brown area. This is a little bit more built out now. There's actually some seating and um, some overhead picnic areas and stuff like that. This is all of the race site, the start finish area. A lot of you come out here for other events, so that it's not new to you, but if you're coming out of town, be thinking about this. So the start finish line is right where that road that you drive in on intersects with the airfield. Just to the west of that, that road kind of goes into the trees and it dead ends in there. That whole area is going to be area for you to be able to set up. The racer corral is actually going to be from the airfield road intersection with the road that you drove in on out maybe 50 yards or so. That whole area is going to be flagged with some tape. That is going to be the racer corral. You can set up on both sides of that tape of that road when you come in to go set up. And that's where you'll be operating for as long as you're running. If you drop, what I ask that you do is try to vacate the area out. If it starts to get a little crowded in the area, try to vacate your camp so other people can move in that are still in there. All of the brown boxes that you see are crewing areas and camping areas and parking areas. So that's all free and close by for you to park, camp, do whatever you want to do. The blue dots that you're seeing on this image are where the porta potties will be situated. And then you obviously have the finish line. Now that finish line is going to rotate and change. And so I'll brief that out specifically because the way that we're set up, unlike a variety of other backyard ultras, is we have a trail section and we have a road section. During the day, you're on the trail. In the evening, you're actually going to be out on the Centennial Trail, running down roughly 2 miles or roughly 1.1 miles if you're rucking still, and coming back to this area. So you actually leave out a different way. You're going to leave out the way that you drive in. Down this road, you'll run down the road just a little bit, and you'll hop on the Centennial Trail down, and then you come back the same way. So the route for that and the finish line for that changes just a little bit, but it's all in the same area. You don't have to worry about it. The thing that you got to worry about is being in that racer corral at the top of the hour. All right, that brings me up to my ROEs for this. For the backyard ultras, there's a couple characteristics that we need to have in play. One, the runner loop has to be 4 miles, roughly 880 feet. The way that we get 880 feet is we suck that up through going out and just doing a quick out and back on the airfield. So when you start the race, you're actually going to go out, you're going to run down the airfield, 400-ish feet. You're going to hit this runners on road box. You're going to run around that. You're going to come back, and then you're going to enter into the trail. You're going to run back through the start corral and then enter onto the trail, and then you'll come back down the airfield. For ruckers, you start out the same way. You go out, you hit the block, you come back through the racer corral, you go out onto your loop, and then you come back down the airfield the same exact way. All right, so for the starting corral, it's measured to fit the field. We have 25 people, so there's plenty of room inside of our starting corral. You must be in the corral at the bell if I have one. I usually forget, so I'm usually yelling. You got to just be in there once the bell rings or once I say go, okay? The starts happen at the top of the hour. I'm going to give out a 3-minute warning. I'll give out a 2-minute warning, a 1 minute, usually at 30 seconds, and then I start a 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown, okay? You have to be in the corral and moving when I say go, Okay, that is super important. You can't be hanging out in your runner race crew area. You have to be in the corral. And I don't care if it's a millisecond before you duck under that tape and you're good to go. As long as you're in the corral, when I say go, you're going to be good. All right. So as far as what happens for yards, when you're out on course, there's no aid. You can't have crew out there meeting you or anything like that. You can use the restrooms. That's why we have them positioned where they are. You can get into the corral. When I say go, you can immediately go right into the restroom, use it, and then still go out on the course. Okay. You can't leave the course until the yard is finished. So if you're out there doing something, come in and make sure, and you time out, come into the corral and make sure you let me know what's going on. No non-competitors on the course, your crew or anything like that. No personal aid during the yard. That's your crew going out somewhere, meeting you, giving you another water bottle or things like that. It's 4 miles, so plan for that as you go and leave your crew area. No artificial aid. So that's things like radios and communications. Trekking poles are not allowed, especially from the rucker standpoint. That's a very important thing. This should be underneath. You should be propelled under your own effort. Okay. Slower runners must allow all the passes. Okay. And what we mean by that is there isn't an area anywhere on this course um, where slower runners typically are in front of other runners that are actually running. But what might happen is there is a ruck runner place where the ruckers join back onto the runner loop again. And if you're a rucker, just step off to the side and let the runners come through. Um, if there is a situation where maybe one of the faster runners uses the restroom and is in there for a really long time and is trying to make up time, then you can step aside and go from there. All right. In terms of who declares the winner, you are all putting a DNF on the line. The winner is the last person to complete the loop, whether it's a rucker or a runner. You're competing in 2 categories, so we can have the last rucker and we can also have a last runner. If 2 racers start, but only one goes out, that usually happens because of strategy or something like that. The race will go until that last person completes that final loop. Okay. Now, there is a situation too where both runners go out and sometimes a runner comes back. That racer just has to complete the loop. Okay. If a loop has already started, we have a racer that has come in, and then we have a racer, the second racer times out or rucker times out, the race is done. That person who came in is the winner of the backyard ultra, rucker or runner. Okay. There can also be no winners for this event. That's the beauty behind this event. Sometimes that's happened where you've had 2 people who have competed very long together and decide they're going to finish together. That has happened before. It's happened where both runners have never had just time out. They never make it in. Okay. There can be a no winner, and that's happened before. So I just want you all to be thinking about that when you do this. So just kind of defining out what artificial aid is a little bit more. Cooling vests, fans, stuff along those lines are considered artificial aid. I'm really looking at this from a um, from a from a time of when we start to identify people. I'm really going to start enforcing this. If you're someone who's like, look, I'm only doing this for, I'm trying to get to the marathon distance, we'll talk about that. But for now, the rule is no cooling vests, no fans, anything along those lines. No trekking poles, radios. Man, there's like serious misspellings in this. I apologize. No radies, that's what we call them in the backyard ultra. No handheld radios or things like that. For crews, there's a couple things to think about here. Crewing can be really difficult in a backyard ultra. If you have one person who's crewing you, what I would recommend is, you know, and they've never really crewed you before, I'd recommend you thinking about when you actually need crew. because that person coming out there on your first yard it can be a little difficult. Really, you're talking yard 5, yard 6, maybe when you start needing to really have crew come in and help you. A lot of the people who are going the distance, 100 plus miles, usually have 1 to 3 people that are coming and crewing them in shifts. Your more experienced runners who keep bringing out the same crew of people, usually 1 person, 2 people can manage that pretty easily. There's plenty of parking, there's plenty of space. So if you want to bring multiple crews out, you definitely can. I would just ask that each vehicle that comes in needs to have one of those passes. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, camping's allowed. Not really going to get into that all that much. When you come in to do your space, you're looking at a 10 by 10 area. Um, Canopies are allowed, so you can bring out a canopy. You can set up all of that stuff. I would just be mindful of how you're going to light your area up in the evening. Um, that is one of the things that you kind of need to think about. Really, it's your crews. So in some cases, your crews need a lot of light. But when you come in, you may not necessarily need that much light. So be thinking about that, like as you come in and you start transitioning into light, trying to save your night vision might be key, right? If especially if you're running under a light that's really not quite that bright, you might want to be thinking about that. But you can light up your area however you like. If you want your Christmas lights or all of that, part of that's all part of the crew. But be thinking about that along the lines of what you want to do. Cooking and having full aid at these stations is acceptable and something you would definitely want to consider. There are grocery stores, there are smaller stores, mini marts, things like that that are very close to this area. I would say it's probably a 20-minute turnaround. Crews have gone to the grocery stores and back in the hour. So it is highly doable that you could make that happen. Other than that, that is all that I have for you all. So if you have additional questions, feel free to email me. It's race week, so I'll be a lot more responsive to that. We don't have maps, we don't have GPS track logs. You can find that stuff through Strava and a lot of other places. All that I would ask that you guys do is show up, be ready to go, be ready to do up your start finish, however you want to do that up, and be rocking and rolling. I'm traveling in Thursday. I'll be on site Thursday afternoon. I'll be out there Friday, and then we're rocking and rolling on Saturday. So that's it for the Racer Crew Brief. It's going to be a lot briefer, so I would suggest you send this to your crews. I'd suggest that you send this to other people that you're wanting to bring in to watch or whatever it might be. It has all the critical information for this race. When we get out to the race site, I will only be briefing out really rules primarily, but also some things that the crew will need to consider as time goes by and while we're all fresh. We're all in this together. We're here until the last rucker and the last runner finish. So good luck to everybody. Good luck to the Backyard 24 folks. Good luck to the ruckers. Good luck to the runners. We'll see you on Saturday.